What was your take from this Nvidia earnings print?
Certainly, and thank you for having me. As you guys alluded to, you went through the numbers. That kind of growth we just don't see. 88% sequential growth and 141% sequential growth in that all-important data center business that you referenced, which is now 76% of total revenues. 5-10 years ago, and I've been covering the group for about 30 years, 5-10 years ago, Nvidia was a gaming company. And now, as you said, it's all about data center. So there's two things here, right? Fundamentals, outstanding, huge beat, huge raise. It's like The Godfather 2, the sequel was as good as the predecessor. So nothing there. And I think Abigail alluded to it. There was a lot of, if you had been paying attention, I'm sure you were, during the quarter, expectations were so high. And there's a lot of people who get uncomfortable with parabolic growth like this. We're much more comfortable on Wall Street with steady or linear growth. And this kind of growth, people optically right away say, well, this can't continue. And certainly there is a law of large numbers, but they are so well positioned that for the foreseeable future, I suspect fundamentals will remain very strong. And Ed, you mentioned it. They conveyed that they're getting additional capacity and they have more demand than they can address.
I'm interested more broadly with the fact that the competition, is this why we're seeing the likes of AMD fall off? Are people feeling that really this is the winner that takes all? Or is that more a sign of market gyrations that's happening on the day?
I think it's the former. I think Lisa Su has done an excellent job at AMD. And I think AMD, given their limited resources, went after the CPU and especially the data center CPU market first. And they're doing really nicely there relative to Intel, especially when you compare it to, again, 5 or 10 years ago. And I think now they've just gotten with their MI300, they're coming into the data center GPU market. And the issue is, can they gain some share? And I think there was some expectation throughout the quarter as that product comes to market that they would gain share. They're not, the killer of Nvidia, but they're going to gain some share. And I think with such strong results from Nvidia, and not just the results, but the guidance, of course, but also their product lineup. They're just canvassing between inferencing and training, between the networking on the InfiniBand side and Ethernet, that I think some investors are saying, this is going to be a real uphill battle climb for AMD. That'd be my guess.
I mean, Ed, it feels as though many are betting Nvidia is the only picks and shovels out there at the moment, but not only from a product perspective of offering, but just the breadth of where their customers are coming from.
That's why the level of detail is so key, Caroline, right? I'm really sorry to interrupt, JP. Just point out one thing. Loads of analysts asked Colette Kress, give us detail, which product, right? Is it H100? It's broadly HGX server chip, right? And I think Jensen made the point that, H100 is not just a single chip. It has 1 trillion transistors in combination. You don't just sort of hand it over to the customers. But did you hear enough from them that the pipeline of future products maintains that technology lead, JP?
I did. I think HGX is just getting started, right? And Grace on its own and Grace Hopper CPU, GPU combination is just coming to market now. Their Ethernet product Spectrum just coming to market. Bluefield, their DPU, Bluefield 3, kind of just getting going. And then you add on top of that all their software offerings. So yes, I don't think this was like, okay, that's the game over and now time to move on. And Carolyn brings up a great point. To some degree, there's just not many AI companies, especially generative AI companies, that are monetizing this robust trend today. And so there is a scarcity value there.
JP, I think we need to look at what Colette Kress had to say about China long term, that if US technology export controls are in place long term, she's calling it a loss of opportunity in that market for US semiconductor makers. How seriously do you take that warning?
Well, I take it very seriously. I've done several meetings with and a podcast with Chris Miller, who wrote the book Chip Wars that is often cited. And there's public filings. We own TSMC as well. It's one of my major concerns, just because very difficult to analyze the political back and forth between China and the U.S. and how far our government will go and how far their government will go. And so certainly to your point, I try to address it with adjusting my terminal growth rate, because as you say, if you take out that economy and that market, certainly it will be a lower terminal growth rate over time. And it's just we will see what happens, but certainly something to follow. As if we don't have enough to follow in the semiconductor industry, another thing to watch very closely.
Well said. One thing that many an investor was following was the buyback. Enormous. Where else should they be allocating that money at these sorts of price points, be buying back their stock? Is it because they believe the stock has got yet further to run, as some analysts do? Why not more in R&D?
So they already spend a tremendous amount in R&D, and so I'm willing to give them a pass there, if you will. I think what it says, one thing it says is M&A. Again, going back to China, that M&A is going to be very difficult to get approved through all these regulatory bodies. And so you turn around and you say, well, what else can we do with it? Well, we have $4 billion left in our buyback. Let's add $25 billion to that. I think it's sending a message to the market that they're very comfortable, even at these prices, that their prospects are so strong and the outlook's so positive that they're willing to buy back their shares. And you're right. Again, it's like their results. The sticker tag is a massive number, but you're talking about a $1.1 trillion market cap company. So at the end of the day, the number of shares that they'll actually buy back, it's great to see, don't get me wrong, but put it in a little context, I guess.